All right, well, we're going to start with how to replace your hard drive for your iMac 2012 without doing all this hard work of opening up your computer and still getting a fantastic result. We are going to use the Samsung T5 1 terabyte SSD drive, which you can get off Amazon for $129 Canadian, and we're using USB 3.0. All right, so what was the issue here? Well, we had a Fusion drive, and the Fusion drive is made up of two drives. It's a software thing. It combines an SSD, small SSD, and a big spinning hard drive. So we've got our SSD here, and we can see I've labeled it dying because the smart status is failing. So that failing message came up when I was checking the drive because we are having very slow performance with this computer. So what do I do? What did I do? Pretty simple. Used Time Machine to back up the Fusion drive. Once I had a backup, I followed the instructions. You can find online how to split your Fusion drive into the SSD and the hard disk. So now I have two drives, the SSD and hard drive. I then restored everything to the hard drive, and the SSD is still plugged in. So I'm not going to use it, but it's still in the system. All right, so I've got the hard drive on here now. It's working fine. You can see that it doesn't have any real issues. The hard drive itself, verified, still working fine as far as the smart status is controlled. So I restored the hard drive so the computer could be used as the main drive. So the SSD is now out of the picture, but the computer is slow. So after getting the operating system back up and running in this one, I then formatted the Samsung portable drive, the SSD, formatted that into the GUID format on Apple. You can just follow the formatting instructions, and then we could install the OS on this hard drive. So installed the OS here, did a couple of other upgrades to the operating system that hadn't been done on the machine. Now I had a working SSD. So now I've got two drives to boot off of, the hard drive and the SSD. The reason I did this is because I wasn't sure how well the USB drive would work. So now let's look at some data here. So using a benchmarking tool called Atto Disk Benchmark. So using this tool, setting it up so that I can run some benchmarks on both the Macintosh hard drive and the Samsung. And I'm running it off the Samsung, so we won't have any delays it's all running in memory anyways. Okay, so the benchmark allows us to test at various read-write levels. So we've got size, or speed of the read-writes on the y-axis, and size of the read-writes on the bottom axis. So you can see pretty much constant performance of somewhere in the 80 to 90 megabyte per second range for the Macintosh hard drive. So the spinning disk, the 5400 RPM spinning disk. All right, so now let's go to look at the Samsung. So here we see considerable improvement in performance. Again, red is read, black is write. So we see, again, pretty low performance, lower performance for the smaller size read-write amounts, but we're getting up here into the sort of 450, 440 megabytes per second. So we can see that over USB 3.0, this hard drive is doing incredibly well. And I didn't have to rip open my computer. I didn't have to remove the motherboard to remove the SSD. All I did was change software and buy a standard USB hard drive. I did spend a bunch of time looking at trying to get a hard drive to work over Thunderbolt 2. It's not worth the money and cost because Thunderbolt 2, even though it is faster and would be giving me some performance improvements, it does not provide power. So none of the small cost-effective devices like this will run off Thunderbolt 2. And that's the big difference between Thunderbolt 2 and 3 is power in the USB-C standard. So skip the Thunderbolt ports. They're not really well supported. If you want to use them, you have to buy a separate hub to power the device. So you'll be going from USB 3.1 on the Samsung to a hub. But that's going to cost you a lot more. Like this is $129. The hubs that support Thunderbolt are probably going to cost you $200 US. So you're looking at that for really not a significant speed bump. I mean, we're talking about 450 megabytes per second here. That's lots fast enough for a 2012 Macintosh computer, and it works really well. So I'm just going to mount this to the back of the aluminum chassis, which will be a bit of a heat sink for the hard drive, and that'll be that. No ripping apart the computer, no dealing with adhesives, no dealing with overpriced components. Yeah, that's my recommendation. If you want to fix your hard drive in your older Mac computer, especially these old iMacs that are hard to pull apart, it's going to cost you hours, and you certainly can go internal. I wouldn't recommend it. For the limited lifetime of these computers, better to just buy a Samsung drive, and you can use it with the next computer too. That's it for now. Hope that helps. I'll put more detailed instructions, step-by-step instructions in the description.